her predominant calling as the national president of the Akhil Bharat Hindu Mahasabha, and that too, the first woman to hold that position, Rajyashree Chaudhuri has multifarious social cultural preoccupations. One of them is a long engagement with India's vibrant and diverse handicrafts and artisanal community. In 2005, she was appointed as Ambassador of Indian Handicrafts to the United Nations. On her frequent visits to the United States, she always makes it a point to represent the interests of India's artisans, like she did on her recent one. She spoke to MCR from New York about it, Rajyashree Chaudhuri. Welcome to MCR. It's a great pleasure to have you.
Pleasure, Jai Hind, Rashtra.
Yeah. Uh, for the purposes of this
Yes.
for the purposes of this conversation, I want to focus on a specific area of your interest for a long time, because that's something that has interested me for quite some time. You are deeply involved in Indian handicrafts and the artisanal community since at least 2005, when you were appointed Indian Handicrafts Ambassador to the United Nations. Give me a broad overview of what you think is happening in that sector in India now.
Well, this is the basic source of livelihood in India since time immemorial, and from time to time, it was always patronized by rulers and by people at large. So, even today, we always, whenever common man goes out for local market fests and fairs, they look out for locally made items. So it's never been thrown away by people at large, and it continues to remain a traditional source of livelihood even today in India. And of course, Akhand Bharat, that is undivided India.
Uh, India is unique in the world in the sense that it has an astonishingly diverse community of artisans across the country. How do you view the way successive governments have harnessed their talents as part of the national economic mainstream?
Basically, my work was to ensure that besides the local market, besides the national market, the global community gets an opportunity to have access to these exclusive handicraft items, which are organic, holistic, environmental friendly items for daily use, showpieces, as well as exclusive generational gift items. So I had showcased the uh, entire sector in the United Nations back in 2005 as the institutional ambassador of Government of India, and it was very successfully accepted by the community, by the diplomatic community, and by the United Nations system. In fact, we had a small showcase allocated to handicrafts from India in the a small gift shop that is there in the UN headquarters. And followed by that, I was able to showcase it even in Geneva UN office in the lobby. And after that, my artisans traveled all over the globe. Some of the artisans, they had access to some international markets, trade fairs, where they could meet the buyers straight and they could get huge orders for their wares. So I think my role came in at the global field to promote this exclusive traditional items from India to the global world.
Perhaps the biggest concern now is that, like you said, the Indian artisans produce things which are used in daily purposes by hundreds of millions of Indians. But lately, in the last, say, 5 to 8 years, there's been so much of inflooding of Chinese goods, which are basically muscling out a lot of what the Indian artisans have been doing. How do you think the community with someone like you can take on a challenge like that?
Well, that is definitely a threat which we had identified during that time. I had recommended geographical identification of Indian handicrafts along with artisans, traditional artisans, making it in the traditional way, patenting and copywriting the processes and the outcomes, and government to the ministries, various ministries concerned on such issues, intellectual property rights, as well as patent rights, copyrights, so that anybody replicating it via machines had to pay the artisans concerned royalty. So this was not, of course, till date, it has not been taken by the government. But I think sooner or later, once it realizes the huge economic upliftment that will go with such empanelment in the patent office and the copyright office, I think the government will take it up more seriously, because this is a macro concern. And it is not possible for a rurally placed, located artisan to run around the patent office and the copyright offices. It is the duty of the government to do it. And I think sooner or later, this is what we are crusading for. Sooner or later, this will be done. So, any nation which will replicate Katha stitch, which will replicate Benarasi saris, which will replicate Dokra items, which will replicate uh, terracotta items, which will replicate Kanjivaram, which will replicate Chanderi cloths, art silks of Bhagalpur, and the cotton of the south, the various carvings, the statues, and the other items, exclusive items, the banana leaf cloth of southern India, the Bidar art of southern India, the filigree work of filigree work of Orissa, Bengal Katha stitch, Bengal Tat, and the Muga silk of Assam, the cane and bamboo craft of Northeast, the Chamba hankies of Himachal, the other items spread all over the country. Everything will be, if that is geographically identified, patented, copyright enactments are imposed, anything that is copied in the rest of the world, we will welcome it with a royalty, with a baggage called royalty. So that way, the artisans will earn, India will earn. It will be a permanent royalty that we will enjoy, because creators should have their share of uh,
Absolutely.
every profit that is made out of things that they have created.
Absolutely. In fact, I'm glad you mentioned such a vast variety because recently, I'm sure you're aware of the case of the Kolhapuri chappals being upscaled in Paris and passed off as if it was their design. There was a lot of pushback, and they had to acknowledge that these are Kolhapuri chappals and not something that we have produced.
Right, right. So this is, I think, this is something which is now. First, we had to make the handicrafts popular. Now that it is popular and people are going in, and with that eco-friendly kind of knack of the consumer market, we are sure of its sales. So now the government has to be very serious about copyright and patenting and geographical identification.
Isn't it ironic that that a government, which is I'm talking about the government in Delhi, the central government, which does not tire of projecting its nationalistic credentials and talks about Bharat, etc., has not come around to supporting something that you've been so passionately fighting about.
See, I will not say the government of India has not tried, because I think they need more time to come around with policies, because India is a very complicated, diverse. Indian political system is very diverse. By the time the a system realizes the importance of one, the other system comes in, and they start prioritizing other things. So it's a question of this election and re-election and no election. This change of government, change of policies, change of priorities, that is actually taking a toll on this particular very important sector of sustainable development and sustainable livelihood, which is traditional in nature. But I'm very confident that the government will take it up. Probably we have not been able to place it the way it should be put, uh, and ensured we were not able to make the government convinced enough that it is a priority. But I'm sure after the invasion of Chinese products into our Ganesh Puja and Durga Puja, and we do the Ganesh festival. The idols are sold by any festival, Hindu festival we have in India. The maximum beneficiary is Chinese market.
Absolutely.
So this, I think, gradually people have started realizing, the policymakers have started realizing, and sooner or later it will be a very integrated, thoughtful policy has to be made, so that the artisans are protected, but they are not closed, they are not shut up from the rest of the world. They are not secluded from the rest of the world. Their items grow, their items can access global market. At the same time, anybody replicating them in awe through machines or by hand, they get the royalty in return, as well as the national government.
Yeah,
So I
just
think the government needs to realize it, and sooner or later they will realize.
one more question on that particular theme, because I come from Gujarat, which is famous for handicrafts. You have a prime minister who is a Gujarati. He has been there for 11 years now. That's long enough for him to recognize the potential. I don't think he's even paying attention to this.
Since I'm not part of the government, I wouldn't like to comment on what are the priorities of this government, but definitely a lot needs to be done in this sector. Of course, that is still not tapped, well tapped the way it should be. And I hope through your media, through your channel, the government of India gets a message to develop this untapped resource it has to give to the world.
Yeah. Last couple of things. One is, of course, I was reading some figures. As of now, I think we are exporting some $4 billion worth of handicrafts annually. And the US alone accounts for about 38%. You're currently in America. Have you been able to find out more avenues where not just the US, maybe the entire North America, the whole part of this hemisphere can become more sensitive to India's handicrafts?
Of course, we tapped way back 25 years back, almost 20 years back, the UN platform, because that is where all the nations,
Right.
national heads, they come together, and we had showcased the handicrafts. So I think the takers were from there, and US, as you have rightly said, and there are other countries according to their priority and their needs. They are importing the handicraft items. But here we are with another sector which remains untapped, which I know you are time bound, but I would like to mention, along with handicrafts, we have another sector which is untapped. That is totally based on cow economy, saving the cow, protecting the cow, and using its waste material for organic manure making. Instead of exporting beef, India can be the biggest exporter of organic manure, and converting the entire globe into an organic globe. And that will take care of its environmental protection and climate change, prevention of climate change, and all the trillions of dollars that go for thinking about how to protect the environment can be easily done with our ancient wisdom of cow protection, and utilizing Indian breed of cows waste material for making mobile covers, to night cream, to cosmetics, through processing, and using it as it is through processing into organic manure, into alternative source of electricity, into alternative cooking gas with the present energy shortage due to conflicts and chaos. I think this is another sector that India can really work on. And of course, we have crusaders back in my country who are mainly youngsters. You'll be surprised to know that the cow protection movement has been picked up by youngsters because they want a very eco-friendly, environmentally balanced earth for inheriting. Our ancestors gave us a free country, but they want to have, and what we will leave behind is a polluted country as of now. But our next generation, they are working towards making environment more balanced, and environmental protection, climate change prevention, all these things can be done through one window solution, and that is cow protection and utilizing its cow waste material for making daily items, as well as soil treatment, electricity, and cooking gas. So I think this is an enormous economy that India has the potential of giving to the world, sharing with the world as one of its best practices for an eco-friendly organic lifestyle. So we have two things together. Both are traditional, and both are from our age-old wisdom from the ancient Sanatana civilization, and both can create a lot of mass employment, holistic income generating systems, sustainable livelihood, yet eco-friendly, and yet solutions to present day hazards.